So we tackled the NFC North last segment. Here's the AFC North, bunched up at the moment with 3 teams, 2 games within each other. Pittsburgh leads the division at 5-4, but the Ravens continue to be the betting favorites ahead of the Steelers. Week 11 sees Bengals at Steelers, Ravens at Browns, both games on CBS. Let's bring in Ryan Wilson and John Breech to hand out mid-season grades for the AFC North. And Ryan, I'll start with you with your Steelers. What grade do you give Pittsburgh midway through?
Hey, Tommy. Hey, Breech. Good to see you guys. Breech is a Bengals fan, so I'll be interested to see what he gives my Steelers. But I'm going to keep it real with you. C-. And that is perhaps being polite. They've blown some opportunities. They lost to the lowly Joe Flacco Bengals. That cost them a game in the win column. And I'm sure we're going to get to the conversation about the Ravens right on their heels and soon to overtake them. And you can't lose those sort of games. There's no crime in losing to Seattle or Green Bay. They no-showed in Los Angeles against the Chargers. That would have been a tough matchup. But if you're a good team, you win those games. And the teams they've beaten, not really impressive outside of New England in week 2 or week 3. You see there where they had 5 turnovers, the Patriots did. And then Daniel Jones looked like Danny Dimes on Indiana Jones in that loss against the Colts, the loss the Colts had a few weeks ago. So I am not optimistic. I am not cautiously optimistic. The rest of the schedule is incredibly difficult. That's why I went with C- because of some blown opportunities, and the road ahead does not look easy.
Ryan, we're going to have to fire you from your professor job because that is just mean. A C- to your own team? I am giving the Pittsburgh Steelers a B-. Never in my life did I think I would give them a full letter grade higher than you. And look, has their offense struggled? Yes, the offense has struggled. The defense hasn't looked great at times, but I'm giving the Steelers a B- for 2 big reasons. Number 1, they're in first place right now, so there's something to be said for that. Number 2, you mentioned that their wins aren't impressive. They have 2 of the most impressive wins of any NFL team this year. They beat the Colts. They beat the Patriots. Those 2 teams are a combined 16-4 this year. They are 0-2 against the Steelers. They are 16-2 against everyone else. So it doesn't get much better than beating the Colts and the Patriots. That tells your team that you can compete against the top tier of the AFC. And like you said, they did no show against the Chargers. They got Flacco'd in there too, but they didn't know he was going to play. Mike Tomlin didn't want to face Joe Flacco. But they're in first place, and I think to me that's what matters. They have time to fix things, to try and get – the defense has gotten better over the past couple weeks. They can try and get this offensive stuff figured out. I don't know what they're going to do at receiver, but they're in first place, and that's what matters.
Okay, let's get to the Ravens. Even though things were down and out when Lamar Jackson was out, they continued, at least in the betting markets, to get a lot of respect. So halfway through for Baltimore, R-Dub, what's the grade?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with B-, and that has every single thing to do with the fact that they got banged up, and they certainly couldn't help that. It felt like they were running a marathon, guys, and they were in mile 15, and everything quit working. They couldn't feel their arms, they couldn't feel their legs, and John Harbaugh said, just keep going, get to mile 22, see if you feel a little better. They're at mile 22, Lamar Jackson's back, their legs are working again, and we see what this offense looks like. This graphic encapsulates it perfectly, with and without Lamar Jackson. That's why he was an MVP and number 2 last year in the MVP conversation. Guys are getting healthier. The defense is playing absurdly better. And the Steelers probably pretty nervous. They might not say it out loud, or maybe they will, but I think we're down the home stretch in this marathon, and the Ravens are hitting their stride. They're hitting that 4.5-minute mile here with only a few miles to go, it feels like.
You know, sometimes, Wilson, we do these segments and we hand out all the same grades. It's boring. That is not right now, because I am not giving the Ravens anywhere near a B. I am giving them a C. And I know you mentioned all the injuries, but the big reason I'm giving them that C is because you look at the beginning of the season when they were healthy, when Lamar Jackson was on the field, they failed every big test that was put in front of them. You look at all their big games they had early on. The Buffalo Bills, they blew that huge lead. The Detroit Lions, they lost that game. The Kansas City Chiefs, they got smoked before Lamar Jackson left that game with an injury. So that was when they were ready to go, and they couldn't beat those good teams. And I think their most impressive win of the year might have been with Tyler Huntley when they beat the Bears, because it was so unexpected, because they had their backup quarterback in there. Now they are getting healthy. Lamar Jackson's back, but he's dealing with a knee injury now. We already saw him miss 1 practice this week, so I think his health is going to be a question mark for the rest of the season. They have inched their way to 4 wins, so I think there is something to be said for that. So for right now, I have them right at average. I'm giving them a C.
All right, C flat for Breech. Let's go halfway through. Bengals up next. Speaking of John's team here, you get to go up ahead of Ryan with your midseason grade.
I am going to give the Bengals a C-. Look, if you've watched any Bengals game this year, we're going to give their defense an F. We know that they can't stop anyone. Every team they play might put up 40 points. The Jets almost put up 40 points. So the defense has been a total struggle. But on the flip side, their offense has looked spectacular with Joe Flacco running it. Joe Flacco has been starting for 4 games. They've had the #1 offense in the NFL in that span by most metrics. And so also, the Bengals could have kind of thrown in the towel on the season after they lost to the Vikings, the Broncos, the Lions. But they said, no, we're going to go out. We're going to trade for Joe Flacco. We're going to try and save things. And so now they are in a spot where if they win on Sunday against the Steelers, they're only 1 game out of first place despite having lost Joe Burrow for an extended amount of time. And with Burrow back at practice, the team's motivated. I'm giving them a C- because the offense has been good. The defense has not.
John, you could have quit talking after you said this defense is an F. I gave the whole entire organization an F. We're living in a world where the Cleveland Browns have to save the Cincinnati Bengals season by inexplicably trading, is he elite, ? Yes, answer, Joe Flacco to the Bengals. And obviously you were right. Mike Tomlin wanted no part of Joe Flacco, and he got more than he bargained for in that loss against the Bengals. But the way that the Bengals have put together this defense, or the lack of the way, not just this season, last season and the years before as well, they ran Lou Anarumo off. Al Golden's not suddenly fixing this thing. Shamar Stewart has not worked out as a first-round pick. They've angered Trey Hendrickson. They thought Jake Browning could handle the job, and it was so bad that they had to get 40-year-old Joe Flacco from a division rival. That is the markings of a team that doesn't know what they're doing without Joe Burrow out there. They're getting an F, and that might be too high, Breech.
Wow, our first F so far. We'll see if there's another F for the last team in the Browns, although both of you guys give out the same grade. John Breech, what is the grade for Cleveland?
It is not an F. I don't hand out Fs. Ryan's just a miserable professor who's just mad at everyone right now. I am not. I am giving the Cleveland Browns a D. They've won 2 games. I'm going to give them a little bit of credit, but I will say I don't know what anyone in this organization is doing. You look at, let's go back to training camp. Joe Flacco getting all those first-team reps, and they trade him away after 4 starts. So it's just, what are you doing? Why wouldn't you develop your rookie quarterbacks when you drafted 2 of them? Instead, you kind of throw Dylan Gabriel into the deep end of the water, and he's been trying to figure things out on the fly, and it hasn't really been going so well. And we do know the Browns have a very good defense. That's a big reason why they do have 2 wins. They pulled off that huge upset over the Green Bay Packers. Maybe the Ohio teams can combine, use the Browns defense, the Bengals offense, and maybe win a Super Bowl. I don't know, but I have to give the Browns a D because they just haven't been impressive. But that upset win over Green Bay means something.
Yeah, something. I think that's probably the extent of it. I went D as well, Breech, for much of the reasons you laid out. Look, I'll give that team credit, and that front office a ton of credit to Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, for how they have drafted, because they crush it in this draft. The issue, and Breech touched on it, you have 2 quarterbacks that you drafted in rounds 3 and 5. Dylan Gabriel probably isn't going to be the answer. We haven't seen Shedeur Sanders on the field yet outside of preseason, so maybe they can figure out the quarterback situation next year, but that doesn't help them as we currently sit here. The defense, as Breech noted, is really good, in part because of some of these young players, but they're the Browns. They're 2-7, and they're losing games like we're accustomed to see them losing. There's frustration on that defense because the offense hasn't held up as part of the bargain. We'll see what happens in the offseason in terms of moving on or keeping certain players or people in the front office. But they're set up for success. The issue, guys, and we talk about this every single year, feels like if you don't get the draft picks right, it doesn't matter. So if they can find a quarterback, great. But for now, D feels about right.
All right, so we've given out all the midseason grades in terms of a midseason pick to win the division. You know, guys, we got quite comfortable here this decade expecting 2, reasonably 3 teams to make it to the postseason out of this division. We may only get 1, which is the winner. So if I were to ask you guys which team wins the division and gets that lock into the postseason, Ryan, I'll give you first word.
Yeah, this goes back to my running the marathon analogy. Even, a couple weeks ago, the books were well on the the Ravens to win this thing because they saw the schedule and they knew Lamar was coming back. The other thing to keep in mind, the last 3 weeks, the Ravens defense, which was laughable over the first month and a half of the season, they lead the NFL in takeaways with 7. They're only allowing 13 points per game, which is top 5. They're crushing it, getting off the field on third down, top 5 there. And in the red zone, they're even better. So all those things point to a team that can win on both sides of the ball. Breech noted the knee injury with Lamar. I think he'll be okay, fingers crossed. And if that's the case, I think they win this division, and it might be pretty easily by the time it's all said and done.
I do agree with Ryan that the Ravens win it, but I am not as confident at all. Seeing Lamar Jackson banged up worries me. If he's dealing with something new every week, even if he's still playing, it kind of takes away a big part of his game, which is ability to run around, create plays, scramble for yardage. And the other thing is they still have to play the Steelers twice. They still have to play the Bengals twice. And there seems to be this assumption that they're just going to go and sweep through the division. They never do that. Over the past 5 years, the Ravens have lost at least 2 division games every single year. And if they lose 2 division games this year, well, now they're up to 7 losses. They still have the Patriots on the schedule. They still have the Packers on the schedule. So this might be a situation where a 9-8 team wins the division. I could see the Steelers getting to 9 wins. I could see the Ravens getting to 9 wins. I'm not sure about the Bengals, but for now, it is the Ravens I am taking to win the division, but I wouldn't put down very much money on it.
Okay, both guys going with Baltimore, but more of a lean, it sounds like, from John Breech when it comes to backing the Ravens. Guys, certainly appreciate it. Again, Bengals and Steelers will be the Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, Melanie Collins game. Ravens and Browns will have Andrew Catalan, Charles Davis, Jason McCourty, and A.J. Ross on the call.